How you doing, everyone? This is Matthias Atva from Direct Dreadnought, your Dreadnought PS4 replay guy. In this episode of our Dreadnought Lore series, Part 3, Places and Locations, we will take a look at the lore and backstory of the many player maps of the Dreadnought game. If you'd like to know more about the important locations for the various Dreadnought factions of the solar system, please check out Dreadnought Lore Part 2, Factions and Powers. If you'd like to know more about the important solar system locations in the Dreadnought game's vast and detailed backstory, please check out Dreadnought Lore Part 1, History and Timeline. Part 1 and 2 of the Dreadnought Lore series goes into much more detail on how humanity has expanded into and throughout the solar system, and where all the many worlds, settlements, and outposts are situated. In Dreadnought Lore Part 3, we will focus on the playable maps of the game where most of the conflicts take place during the current Dreadnought era. As with the other episodes in the Dreadnought Lore series, I only use canon sources released by the creators of the Dreadnought game and will display most of these sources in the background of the video. Feel free to pause the episode at any time to read the source materials. After the Dreadnought Lore series is complete, I plan to make Dreadnought-based fan fiction with a similar dramatic feel and theme as my Introduction to Ender's Game video. I will link that video at the end of all of my Dreadnought Lore videos, and of course, link all of the Dreadnought Lore series together as well, so you won't miss a thing. Okay, let's jump right in to exploring the primary battlefields of the solar system. When we first begin our Dreadnought experience in the Dreadnought tutorial, we are first introduced to Sinley Bay. Sinley Bay is located in the asteroid belt between Mars, also known as the planetary nation of Troja, and the many terraformed and settled moons of Jupiter, also known as the Jovian system. This asteroid belt is known as the Scum Belt. Sinley Bay is the most powerful independent faction not officially aligned with the human core worlds in the solar system. It shares the asteroid belt with many other independent powers such as scavengers, mercenaries, pirates, and the many warring groups of Ryugu Haven on the massive asteroid Ceres. Although Sinley often comes into conflict with these various groups and organizations. The bay was founded in 2420 by the legendary Captain Bix and a large contingent of ships and their captains who deserted the Pan-Colonial Fleet at the end of the Great Solar War because of the many crimes the Pan-Colonial Commonwealth committed against the transhumans and their own forces. Since that time, many independent ships and their crews, including treasure hunters, mercenaries, and deserters, have joined this group of outlaws and have called Sinley Bay their home. Sinley Bay controls a vast network of old transhuman relics called the Okeaneides Warp Beacon Network. With this network, Sinley captains can safely travel the asteroid belt and also deny passage to outsiders and their enemies to and around the bay. The main section of Sinley Bay is a crescent-shaped modern docking facility that can repair, resupply, and upgrade dozens of vessels at any one given time of any known size and class of ship currently manufactured in the solar system. This massive docking ring is connected to an enormous hollowed-out asteroid that contains the Okeaneides control system, as well as a huge habitat filled with workshops, markets, storage areas, living quarters, dives, bars, and all sorts of shady locations and operations. The bay is home to many various groups and organizations who are rarely aligned and tend to pursue their own agendas. However, Sinley Bay is treated as neutral and hallowed ground, and its inhabitants will always rally together to defend their home. The transhuman Okeaneides Warp Beacon Network is massive and expansive. One can be found in Sinley Bay, while the others are distributed throughout the Scum Belt. While Sinley Bay controls the beacons directly, they can be attacked, disabled, or destroyed. The Okanades beacons are very advanced transhuman technology artifacts that cannot be repaired or replaced by current human technology, making them unique and indispensable. The Trojan Navy of Mars have made a concerted effort to destroy the network and eliminate the influence of Sinley Bay, in addition to shutting down or taming the many various outlaw and criminal factions of the asteroid belt. With every beacon destroyed, Troja gets closer to their inevitable goal. Ryugu Haven is a colossal advanced transhuman mining facility located on the dwarf planet of Ceres in the Scum Belt. This immense facility is a marvel of transhuman engineering and contains many valuable artifacts and secrets that everyone in the solar system covets greatly. After the Great Solar War and around the time of the founding of Sinley Bay, the megacorporations of Jupiter Arms from Mars and Akula Vector from Earth attempted a joint venture to harness the minerals and artifacts of Ryugu Haven and Ceres. However, this venture eventually failed because of the constant conflicts on Ceres between miners, criminals, pirates, and scavengers. To make matters worse, besides the countless transhuman artifacts littered across the surface of Ceres, in addition to the Ryugu Haven facility itself, there are many transhuman storage capsules that many nefarious organizations use to hide their ill-gotten gains. These capsules and artifacts remain well protected when Ceres freezes over. However, every time the dwarf planet thaws, the Great Harvest takes place, a frenzied free-for-all of treachery and mayhem that propels the already constantly chaotic skirmishing on Ceres to new heights of violence and betrayal. All these factors make Ryugu Haven on Ceres the most prolific, blood-soaked battleground in the entire solar system. Besides Sinley Bay, the expansive network of the Okanades beacons, and Ryugu Haven on Ceres, there are several hidden pirate bases, storage facilities, mining operations, and tech stashes located throughout the asteroid belt. Many clashes over these hidden outposts and outlaw settlements occur frequently in the Scum Belt, making it a dangerous and chaotic battleground for the most lawless elements of the solar system, and a never-ending, massive junkyard of ships which attracts endless waves of scavengers and salvage operations. Just beyond the Scum Belt is the planet Jupiter, home to its 4 moons, also known as the Jovian system. Before the Great Solar War, the moons of the Jovian system were the first celestial bodies terraformed by the transhumans after Mars and Venus were made habitable for humans. During the war, the 3 human core worlds laid claim to these moons, exploited their resources, and built several bases and facilities on them to support the pan-colonial fleet's war efforts. After the 60-year-long destructive conflict, when the pan-colonial Commonwealth dissolved, the 3 great powers of Earth, Mars, and Venus fought bitterly for these key moons. Thus, the majority of the Dreadnought battlegrounds are located in the Jovian system over these important settlements and colonies. On Jupiter's moon of Io, there exist 2 such battlegrounds, the first being the Trojan research colony of Jakowitz, located next to the Great Amirani volcano, the biggest volcano in the solar system. Amirani is the site of the main transhuman terraforming facility that turned Io into a beautiful terrestrial world. However, after the Great Solar War and the transhuman exodus, the terraformers began to fail, and although the Io ecosystem remains intact, the Amirani volcano has become active again, resulting in much of the facility to be abandoned or neglected. Many factions take advantage of the chaos from this natural disaster to locate and steal transhuman technology and artifacts from the Amirani area. Although the Jakowitz colony is still operational, it seems Mars is unable to prevent the many clashes that occur around this majestic transhuman facility. The other frequent hotspot on Io is an old Aquatech water facility called Kappa Base. It is said that the Kappa base facility is now a human attempt to maintain the terraformed conditions on Io using non-transhuman technology. It is unclear why Kappa base is so frequently fought over, but Aquatech, a subsidiary of Aquila Vector and once a massive powerhouse company during the Great Solar War, is now a shadow of its former glory and doesn't seem to have the resources to stem the tide of violence around this groundbreaking milestone facility. The many mining facilities of the Callisto moon were once critically important to providing an abundance of raw materials for the Pan-Colonial Commonwealth's war effort against the transhumans who just decades before terraformed the moon for human settlement. Callisto was also the location of several major pan-colonial fleet bases during the war. Because of its importance, Callisto suffered numerous transhuman counterattacks and invasions which destroyed most of these bases. After the Great Solar War, many of these bases and vast mining facilities have become abandoned and are now a treasure trove for scavengers and criminals, leading to constant fights for all the free materials available to those with the will and know-how to claim them. Although Martian Troja lays at least partial claim to Callisto, it seems they are either unwilling or unable to stop the many battles that occur over these mining facilities, the most famous of these being the Red Sands Complex. The ice moon of Ganymede was given a breathable atmosphere during the Bronze Age of transhuman expansion, while the rest of the Jovian system was being terraformed. Ganymede was host to several pan-colonial fleet bases during the war, most of which were destroyed by the transhumans or abandoned after the war. Troja maintains a colony on Ganymede where they recently put down a rebellion but lost a highly advanced destroyer that defected to Sinley Bay. Enyo's House Oberon from the planet Venus had an operations base on one of Ganymede's old PCF dry docks, but this base was eventually lost and is now used by outlaws seeking fortune and is a magnet for adventurers and criminals. Past the Jovian system is the planet Saturn and its 62 moons, known as the Cronian system, which were terraformed and made ready for human settlement by the transhumans before the Great War during their Silver Age of expansion. Although the Cronian system is home to many core world settlements, colonies, and bases, there are two main places where battles frequently occur in this system. The first of the conflict areas in the Cronian system are the many abandoned Aquatech ice mining facilities located throughout the rings of Saturn. The few of these facilities that remain operational in current times are a shadow of their former glory, understaffed and not sufficiently protected. One such abandoned mining facility in particular has become a bustling mercenary outpost and pit stop. But with no enforced law and order, conflicts and skirmishes can break out at any time. In the vast clutter of Saturn's huge rings, many times the size of Earth, evasion and escape are easy, and an ambush could be just around the next asteroid. The other infamous battleground of the Cronian system is high above the Saturn moon of Titan at the reawakened transhuman orbital complex known as Ixion. Titan is Saturn's largest moon and the only colony owned by the planetary power of Venus, also known as Enyo, in the Cronian system. Enyo's primary megacorporation, House Oberon, who specializes in studying transhuman technology, resurrected this massive transhuman station, and it is now used as a space elevator to supply the colony below from space. As such, raiding this important facility could not only net an aggressor with many valuable supplies, but also potentially disrupt Enyo's colonial operations on Titan. Uranus and its 5 moons were terraformed by the transhumans just before the Great Solar War during their golden age of expansion. The Uranian system was said to be the transhumans' crowning achievement, and the moons of Uranus were said to be paradise worlds. Most of these ecosystems were destroyed. House Oberon from Ennio's Venus owns many important bases and facilities on the Uranian moons. Although most of the Uranus moon ecosystems were ruined during the Great Solar War, one moon, Titania, remains intact as living proof of the terraforming skills of the transhumans. Titania stands as a lush, gorgeous world that is only now, in current times, being colonized by humanity decades after the Great Solar War. The tropical island of Elysium is where the transhuman terraformers for Titania were located before the pan-colonial fleet bombed the terraformers at the end of the war. Luckily for humanity, Titania survived the bombings and escaped the fate of her sister moons. Elysium Island is now the home of the transhuman terraformer ruins, the Elysium Gates, where the Martian nation of Troja have set up a small research colony. However, this base is far from Mars and is powerless to stop the many battles between those who want to pilfer transhuman technology from the island and strip it clean of technological treasure. This concludes Part 3 of the Dreadnought Lore series on the major places and locations of the solar system that constantly see battle in the Dreadnought game. If you'd like to dive deeper into the amazing lore of Dreadnought, be sure to watch Part 1 on the Dreadnought history and timeline, and Part 2 on the many factions and powers of the solar system. Stay tuned for Part 4 in the Dreadnought series, where we take a closer look at the many important heroes and infamous characters of the Dreadnought saga and how they affected the solar system and influenced the events of Dreadnought. Well, that's it from me for now, and I'll see you soon in Sinley Bay.